Chapter 1. The first time I met Joseph Arillo, I didn't expect to go to jail or even get beat up as a result. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Joseph was sitting out in the middle of a parking lot the first time I saw him. He was a small kid, not the kind you'd notice, practically invisible. In a downpour, he'd probably weigh a few pounds, but it would all be water caught in that long brown hair of his that went straight down his back. He had brown skin like everybody else in Southern California, except perhaps for me, and wore threadbare clothes like a badge. I was walking out of the liquor store, Rod's Liquor on the corner of 14th and Main, carrying my morning strawberry quick and... "What you got there?" I asked him. He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. What he was working at caught my attention, though. There he was, on his hands and knees, practically lying down on the cracked and weathered asphalt, painting. I opened the ice-cold quick and took a swig. Nothing went down better after a jog than a quick. You might say that was why I never took off any weight. But the hell with you, I didn't ask. I walked around to watch him work and to see what he'd done. He didn't move. He didn't appear defensive or concerned in any way. There, on the ground between the oil stains, faded parking lot lines, and various other markings, tire marks and graffiti, this young man was painting. What is that, a flower? He had a silver Sharpie in one hand and a butter knife in the other. He was working the silver onto the concrete around circles of bright red paint, creating the sheen on what would undoubtedly be rose petals. Whenever he made a mistake, he'd take an old brown brush and dab it out or go back with the Sharpie. But he hardly made any mistakes. I knelt down and took a look at the pen in his hand. What's that, a 1-inch fine? Where'd you learn to get that kind of detail with a 1-inch fine? "I'm good," were his first words to me. "You're painting flowers in a parking lot, kid. You're not Michelangelo." I noticed his choice of paint cans was interesting. Old Advil bottles. Big ones. The kind your arthritic grandmother might have. Still, what's with the flower? Nothing. Not even a glance. "Does Carlos know you're painting his parking lot?" I asked. The kid kept working on his pedals. Carlos owned Rod's Liquor. Please don't ask me how that figured, but I had a feeling he'd have something to say. Even if he didn't, I did. What the kid didn't realize was that I wasn't just any art lover. For 2 weeks, I'd been the art instructor at Santa Ana High School. I hardly made more than the average burger pusher at the local McDonald's and had to buy supplies on top of that. But I made my own hours just as long as I kept those the school gave me, and I got to paint. And I would. Eventually. "That looks like student-grade tempera paint. You expect that to stand up to traffic?" I waited to see if he got the joke and wasn't at all surprised when he didn't. "Listen, I'm going to check with Carlos and see if he's okay with this. You want to come with me?" Nothing. "No? Well, how about you stay out here and paint?" As I stood back up, it was clear the kid wasn't going to say another word. Listen, I have no problem with street art, even when it's called graffiti. I'm an art teacher. It kind of keeps me in the business. But this kind of art? Painting a flower in the middle of a parking lot? A lot surrounded by dead trees, old pavement, and crowded apartments just this side of slums? That just struck me as kind of goofy.